Where to begin with today's artist? Controversial? Yes. Entrepreneur? Yes. Rapper, singer, and producer? He's got that covered. Today we're discussing none other than Lupe Fiasco. Rising from extremely complex and humble beginnings, Lupe stuck his nose to the grindstone to make his dreams of becoming a rapper a reality, despite little support from his parents. Assisted by none other than Kanye West, Lupe went on to become a megastar, even though he wasn't really a fan of Kanye to begin with, but we'll touch on that later. Lupe went on to drop a couple of albums, drop some hit singles, but lately it seems like Lupe has withdrawn from the public eye. So, where did he go? What happened to that supergroup he was planning to form? Today we're gonna discuss Lupe's rap career from its inception till this very moment. Let's begin. Lupe was born around 1982 in Chicago as one of 9 children. Of West African descent, Lupe's mother was a chef, while his father was an engineer and a member of the Black Panther Party, with many cultural side hustles, ranging from karate school to an army surplus store. Raised as a Muslim, his upbringing was incredibly convoluted and best understood by 2 quotes of his own. "I grew up in the hood around prostitutes, drug dealers, killers, and gangbangers. But I also grew up juxtaposed. On the doorknob outside of our apartment, there was blood from some guy who got shot, but inside, there was National Geographic magazines and encyclopedias, and a little library bookshelf situation. And we didn't have cable, so we didn't have the luxury of having our brains washed by MTV. We watched public television, cooking shows, and stuff like that. It was like we were at my mother's house to go to school, and then after school, my father would come get us and take us out into the world. One day, we're listening to NWA. The next day, we're listening to Ravi Shankar. The next day, he's teaching us how to shoot an AK-47. The next day, we're at karate class. Now, Lupe's parents divorced when he was about 5 years old, but both guardians retained a very important role in his life. Initially uninterested in hip-hop, his childhood loves were karate, which he began when he was about 3 years old. He also enjoyed skateboarding and jazz music. His initial aversion to hip-hop was due to its vulgarity, but after struggling to grasp the ability to play an instrument, he eventually turned to poetry as an outlet, leading to his love of lyrics. Around 1996, when he was around the 8th grade, Lupe heard Nas's album It Was Written and aspired to be a rapper after that.
Imagine smoking weed in the street without cops harassing. Imagine going to court with no trial.
Now, while still in high school, Lupe befriended a kid called Bishop G, and the duo bonded over their shared interest in music. Bishop G and Fiasco began as unlikely friends, but quickly realized that they were a dynamic duo on stage. Bishop G was Fiasco's hype man, and together they lit up the stage. At first, Bishop G thought that Lupe was just a very nerdy guy with glasses. However, after a while, he began to see Lupe's true potential. They turned Lupe Fiasco's basement into their own mini studio, grinding day and night to perfect their craft. They even recorded some mixtapes and gained notoriety at school for it, despite being kicked off stage at their first performance due to their eclectic style. Now, early in his career, Fiasco experimented with different variations of Lou, which is the last part of his first name and childhood nickname, to make up his moniker, eventually settling on Lupe.
What up, y'all? Yeah, soundtrack, what's poppin', baby?
The Fiasco part was derived from the Firm song Firm Fiasco and was inspired by what Lupe thought meant a great disaster.
I was a big Nas fan. I'm still a big Nas fan. And so the Firm was like, you know, it wasn't the greatest album, you know what I'm saying? But they had certain songs where it was dope, especially songs that had Nas on it, because remember every song didn't have Nas on it. And Firm Fiasco was one of the better songs on the album. But it was more, I liked the way that it looked, like the actual font of Firm Fiasco was fresh. And I was like, yo, that's where I got Fiasco from Lupe Fiasco. And I was like,
By the time he was 18, Lupe Fiasco was down to a one-man crew. Despite his parents' disapproval, he managed to acquire a mixing board, a record player, stacks of vinyl records and mic stands, and began creating his own music in his father's basement. By 19, he had joined a crew called The Pack, which was incredibly short-lived, but helped him get his foot in the door with a signing to Epic Records. The Pack, a hip-hop group from Chicago, experienced a very brief but impactful time in the music industry. The group was comprised of artists like Lupe Fiasco, Navi, Butcher, and D-Lo. Now Pac aimed to secure a record deal and make a mark in the world of music. The group first met at a showcase at Raw Dope Studios, which is where Lupe met his future business partner, Charles Chili Patton. Assembled hastily, the group quickly gained attention and dropped their promotional single, Armpits.
Pimps, tricks, whoever you with, let me see them armpits.
Despite their limited time together, the chemistry and potential of The Pack were evident from the start. However, eventually the group disassembled. One of the major obstacles The Pack faced was lack of creative control over their music. The group recorded over 50 songs for an album, but they found themselves at the mercy of external forces, resulting in a project that did not align with their vision. This lack of control led to frustration and discontent among the members. Additionally, Lupe Fiasco always stood out from the group. He was always very chill and didn't like the whole violent image that the group had. As an artist, Lupe had bigger visions beyond just gangster rap. He honestly felt like a hypocrite for promoting messages he did not believe in. It made him really uncomfortable, and this inner conflict played a part in why the group broke up. The last reason why The Pack broke up was because their A&R rep who signed them to the label left. And just like that, the group was dropped. Between that and creative differences, it was over for The Pack. After the breakup, the members went back to their own solo careers as MCs. Their time together was very short, but you know the experience shaped them as artists. Lupe Fiasco, Navi, Butcher, D-Lo, they all took lessons from The Pack into the next phases of their career. The group did not reach its full potential, but it laid the foundation for the members' careers. For Lupe especially, being in the group and not wanting to embrace the gangster image taught Lupe that he wanted to spread more positivity into the world and not rap about guns, drugs, sex like other rappers. When Lupe went back to his solo career, he dropped a track called Coulda Been. That was a big turning point in his career. In the song, he rapped about all these other paths he could have taken if he hadn't started rapping.
If I wasn't rapping, I'd probably be wrestling, hand-to-hand grappling on the corner of Madison.
For Lupe, the song marked a major shift in his subject matter. Moving forward, no more rapping about gangster stuff. He was ready to begin giving people what they need and not what they want. He put out Could Have Been as a demo tape without even making a music video or anything. But still, MTV still discovered the song and began playing it. Even without promo, the song resonated. Dropping Could Have Been lets him close one chapter and open another. It was a rebirth for him as a rapper. Now around 2001, Lupe co-founded the independent label First and 15th Entertainment with Charles Chili Patton. They named the label after paychecks. You know, the 1st and 15th of the month. Lupe was vice president and most of his work was tied to the label somehow. He then ended up signing a solo deal with Arista, but then got dropped real quick when L.A. Reid got fired. Luckily, while Lupe was at Arista, he met and befriended Jay-Z, who later helped him secure a deal with Atlantic Records. Lupe's signing with Atlantic is your classic tale of crazy high hopes and shady industry letdowns. It all began with Jay-Z himself getting involved, so you know there's gonna be some twists and turns. When word got out that Jay-Z was backing Lupe, it created a major buzz. Everyone was hyped, thinking that Jay-Z co-sign would take Lupe's career to the next level. And no doubt, Jay painted a real pretty picture to reel Lupe in. A little did Lupe know that Jay-Z had other plans. Just as Lupe signed to Atlantic, Jay-Z pulled a power move and became the president of Def Jam. Now once Lupe got signed to Atlantic, he began dropping mixtapes to build a buzz around his name by word of mouth. The 3-part series came out around 2005 and 2006 and consisted of the titles Fahrenheit 1/15, Part 1, The Truth Is Among Us. The next one was called Fahrenheit 1/15, Part 2, Revenge of the Nerds, and Fahrenheit 1/15, Part 3, A Rhyming Ape. In the process, he remixed Kanye's Diamonds from Sierra Leone and called it Conflict Diamonds.
Yeah, allow me to break down the game behind the bracelets, earrings, chains, watches, and rings.
The track caught Kanye's attention, and he then asked Lupe to contribute a verse to his song, Touch the Sky. This song went platinum, charting around the world and peaking at number 10 on the rap chart, giving Lupe the leg up that he needed to finally kickstart his career.
Yes, guess who's on third? Lupe still like Lupe in the third.
Now there's a little bit more history behind the song Touch the Sky. When Lupe was first approached to collaborate with Kanye on the song, he wasn't exactly thrilled about it. The thing is, they came from different backgrounds. Kanye was part of the backpacker scene, while Lupe was more connected to the streets and a different world altogether. But here's where it gets a little intriguing. Against his initial reservations, Lupe's friend convinced Lupe to give it a shot. Lupe had doubts, and he couldn't imagine himself fitting into Kanye's musical style. However, this was a huge turning point in his career, but little did he know that back then. That collaboration on Touch the Sky propelled Lupe into the spotlight and solidified his partnership with the legendary Kanye West. The unexpected fusion of their styles resonated with audiences, and Lupe's career began to soar. Despite their initial differences, a strong bond began to form between Kanye and Lupe. Simultaneously, Lupe was also getting more involved in business, and around 2005 he founded the company Righteous Kung Fu. The company designs fashion, sneakers, toys, video games, comic books, and graphics for album covers and skateboard decks. He later expanded it into a fashion line called Trilly and Truly, and by January of 2006 he had signed a deal with Reebok. Other rappers involved in the campaign were Wayne and Mike Jones, and the aim was to design their own personal colorway of the Reebok OG model. 2006 was a very busy year for Lupe, because in this year he dropped his hit single, Kick Push.
First got it when he was 6, didn't know any tricks. Matter of fact, first time he got on it, he slipped.
The song is all about a beautiful love story, but with a twist. It's set in the world of skateboarding. The lyrics tell a tale of a boy who loves skateboarding and meets a girl who shares the same passion. Together they face all kinds of obstacles, both on their boards and in life. The phrase kick push serves as a metaphor for overcoming challenges and navigating through whatever life throws at you. Now here's something interesting. When the song first came out, some people misunderstood its meaning. They thought it was actually about drug dealing, but that wasn't the case at all. Additionally, the journey of Kick Push did not come without its struggles. Lupe Fiasco faced resistance from his own record label. They tried to prevent the song from being promoted, even going so far as to ask the radio station to slow it down or stop playing it.
The truth of the matter is that, I'm at the mercy of the powers that be, who don't know if they want to be a record company, or if they want to be a management company, or if they want to be a production company. And in the midst, I'm caught up in the midst of it, so.
The label even went so far as to purchase the rights to a sampled song used in the song. And this was all done to gain partial control of Lupe's work. It was a very calculated move, and according to Lupe, it was cold-blooded, but a very smart strategy. The person mostly to blame for trying to hold Lupe back is known as Craig Coleman. He notoriously disliked every song on Lupe's project, Food and Liquor. The label was supposed to have his back, at least that's what Lupe thought, but it's clear they didn't know what to do with Lupe. Now remember Chili Patton, Lupe Fiasco's business partner? Well, according to him, he he financed the promotion of Lupe's single, Kick Push, and that's something that the label was supposed to do themselves. Now, despite all the hurdles, something special happened with Kick Push. The song resonated with people on a deep level. It blended these infectious beats with raw lyrics and skate culture. Now, I personally did not like Kick Push when it came out. It seemed like Lupe was trying to reach an audience that wasn't me, and that's probably because I'm not a skateboarder. Now, even with the industry working against them, Kick Push kicked down doors. It ended up Grammy nominated and in video games, and it left a lasting impact on the skateboarding community. Now, when Lupe's debut album dropped, it did alright. It sold about 81,000 copies in the first week and peaked at number 8 on the Billboard 200. With this album, Lupe was not messing around. It featured influence from Jay-Z, Kanye West, and even the Neptunes. Now, despite the mixed responses to his releases, Lupe had impressed critics with his lyrical skill, and around 2007 he was nominated for 3 Grammys. He was nominated for Best Rap Album, Best Rap Solo Performance, and Best Rap Song. However, unfortunately, he didn't win anything. For the same album, he was voted by GQ to be the Breakout Man of the Year and received about 4 BET Hip Hop Award nominations. Let's just say Lupe was on fire around this point. Now, just as he was winning, trouble struck Lupe close to home, or should I say close to business. That same year, his business partner Charles Patton received a sentencing of 44 years. The thing is, he received a charge around 2003 after being busted with about 6 kilograms of heroin, and it had a street value of $1 million. According to Lupe, he was not involved with the drug deals, but Lupe was recorded speaking to Patton about splitting up whole yellow and whole red ones. While Lupe insisted that they were talking about the mixing and prepping of tracks, a witness testified that the colors referred to $10 packets of heroin. Investigators on the case claimed that Patton used profits from record sales to buy heroin and sell it in Chicago, indirectly linking their label to the case. Whether or not Lupe was involved might remain a mystery. However, the events of the case led him to become the CEO of First and 15th Entertainment and heavily influenced his second album, which was released near the end of the year. Now, one of the craziest things that happened around 2007 was that Lupe formed a supergroup with Kanye and Pharrell, and this one was called Child Rebel Soldier. They released one track titled US Placers on Kanye's 2007 mixtape Can't Tell Me Nothing, and it was entirely produced by Fiasco. The group was only formed after the song was produced and initially seemed to be the start of something iconic.
Lifestyles of the broken famous, let you know how crazy this game is. Look at all the new beautiful faces.
In interviews, Lupe always had good things to say about his newfound group, and even spoke of dropping a full-length album with music videos. However, ultimately it was all up to the label. Then in early 2008, it was announced that the group would be touring on Kanye's Glow in the Dark tour alongside Rihanna and Pharrell's funk rock band NERD. So, Child Rebel Soldier was gaining momentum, and eventually the labels got behind them, so the group began planning recording sessions. Lupe, being new to the game, was incredibly hyped for this project. He even pushed back his solo album The Cool by a few weeks to make way for Child Rebel Soldier. But despite all the momentum, the album never really took off. It kept getting postponed again and again, until eventually it got shelved altogether. Only a couple of songs ever saw the light of day. A NERD remix around 2008, and something random called Don't Stop around 2010. So, the Child Rebel Soldier album never materialized, but judging by the tracks they did together, it would have been a very interesting concept. Now let's backtrack to around 2007. During this year, Lupe dropped an album called The Cool. The album was a concept album expanding the story of a track on his first album. In addition to his partner's incarceration, Lupe's father passed away in the same year, leading to the album being influenced by grief. The album was preceded by the single Superstar with Matthew Santos, which became one of his most successful singles.
You are what you say you are, a superstar.
Eventually it went platinum, and let's just say this song put Lupe on another level. The thing is, unlike his previous singles, which weren't that relatable to a larger audience, Superstar is a song that anybody can listen to. Also, remember Bishop G, Lupe's old friend? Well, Lupe did a song with him titled Little Weapon on Lupe's album The Cool.
Imagine if I had to console the families of those slain I slayed on game consoles.
Talk about coming full circle. Now, despite the success of his album, Lupe was genuinely considering backing out of his 5-album deal, and that would take place after he dropped his next album with Atlantic. When interviewing to promote The Cool, he shared that he was exhausted by the music industry and that he was strongly considering retirement. This would be the first of many retirement announcements for the 25-year-old rapper. He said the following: "The game wears on you. It tears you down. It's perpetual emotion for some people who've achieved a level of independence. Like Madonna and Jay-Z, they don't need to do music anymore. But there's people who need it. And in that need, that's when it gets tough and it tears you to pieces. But my goals are low. My ceiling is low. I'm not on a $100 million hustle because I know what it takes to get $100 million in music. It's like they're paying you, but how much is your independence, your soul, and your sanity worth?" Now this right here is the precursor to Lupe's eventual downfall. He consistently talked about retiring throughout his career. I don't know about you guys, but this made me think, okay, Lupe's heart is not really into music anymore. Plus, Lupe was openly talking about backing out of his deal, which probably did not fly so well with Atlantic. One interesting thing to note about Lupe's album The Cool is that the sound was very different from the first album, surprising critics and fans alike. Unlike his previous project, this one sounded more pop. It seemed like some tracks were made for the radio, and it seemed like Lupe was trying to appeal to a wider audience. Now, after Lupe's second album was dropped, there was a bit of a wait for his third album, and he continued to do an excessive amount of singles and features. 2008 was a very weird year for Lupe, because in addition to his rapping, Lupe began a Japanese rock band, one called Japanese Cartoon. When this mysterious punk band first came out, everybody was trying to figure out if Lupe was secretly the singer. There were also rumors that Lupe was using a fake name, Percival Fats, to front the band. But Lupe and the band were very quick to be like, nah, that's not it. Lupe made it very clear that he was simply backing the band financially, and also producing and not on the vocals. However, over time, Lupe got more hands-on creatively, especially for their first EP called In the Jaws of the Lords of Death. In an interview, Lupe explained how the EP was not just a casual experiment for him. He was taking this very seriously and wanted to eventually blend hip-hop and punk rock.
Oh, what a lie. Oh, what a lie.
Now, while Lupe was experimenting with other genres of music, hip-hop was still calling his name. Around 2009, he was nominated for about 4 Grammys. However, he did not win any of them. What he did do was drop another mixtape called Enemy of the State, A Love Story. And then in that same year, the single from his coming album got leaked. The single was called Shining Down.
You thought I was down. You thought I was gone.
And when the track got leaked, it got people thinking that maybe Lupe was leaking the tracks himself and was trying to create a buzz for his project. However, Lupe denied this and was so infuriated that he took to Twitter to share his rage. "I don't leak my own records. I'm not a fan of leaking records or of downloading. My entire first album leaked and possibly cost me from going platinum my first time out. as the final estimates of how many people actually downloaded that album illegally was well over 500,000. Now, when Lupe was not doing music, he was also doing some charity work. Around 2010, he joined Jessica Biel and other celebs to climb Mount Kilimanjaro, the tallest mountain in Africa. Yep, Lupe was out there hiking with the stars. The awareness was called Summit to Summit and was supposed to bring focus to the billions of people worldwide lacking clean drinking water. Lupe also did a collaboration with Kenna, a celeb who also climbed Mount Kilimanjaro, and the track was called Resurrection.
Urgency, emergencies among us. Life is in a crisis, tragedies upon us.
Now, let's backtrack a bit. 2009, right? Lupe, as acting CEO of First and 15th, cleans out his label. It seems like Lupe was looking for a fresh start and didn't think any of his artists had anything to offer. He said the following: "I got rid of the entire First and 15th record label. Me and Sarah Green are the only artists on the label. Like, I got rid of the whole label. It was just such a, this isn't right for you right now." Along the same vein, remember when we said that Lupe had label issues and could not release album number 3 freely? Well, the man had problems with his label. Initially only planning to drop one more album in the form of a triple album called Loopend or Loop END, Lupe's plans were put on hold by the label. And yes, we're talking about Atlantic. In response, Lupe postponed the album indefinitely and instead planned on releasing one to be titled The Great American Rap Album. Marking a trend in his behaviors as his career went on, he once again changed his mind, deciding to put out a project titled We Are Lasers, later renamed to the backronym Lasers, Love Always Shines Every Time, Remember to Smile. Later renamed to Lasers, the album was repeatedly delayed despite being complete, and at a performance in New Zealand around 2010, Lupe performed some of the unreleased material from the album. He also announced that the piece was complete, but that he was waiting for a release date from Atlantic. It later turned out that the label felt that Lasers had no commercial singles, and this caused a lot of tension between the label and Lupe. Since Lupe and Atlantic appeared to be in a stalemate, and the public still had not been informed about the reason for the delay, Fiasco's fans took to the internet to start a petition for the album's release. It gathered over 5,000 signatures on its first day, garnering the attention of hip-hop blogs, and was featured on websites like CNN and MTV. As a thank you, Lupe dropped the song BMF, or Building Minds Faster. The petition eventually gained over 16,000 signatures, and the fans plan to organize a march to Atlantic headquarters and demand the album's release. In response, around 2010, Atlantic issued a release date for Lasers to be dropped on March 8, 2011. Despite the announcement, the march still took place just over a week later on October 15th. Now, in a shocking revelation, Lupe then revealed that he had a love-hate relationship with his album, Lasers. According to him, when he listens to the album, he thought about the process of creating it and everything he went through during that time. It was a nightmare. He also went on to say that he felt somewhat neutral about some of the songs on the album. He didn't necessarily dislike them, but he didn't really feel a strong attachment to them either. Now, the album officially came out on March 7th, 2011, and after all that waiting, all those pushbacks by the label, all the petitions by fans, the album came out and it was a success. It sold 204,000 copies in the first week and debuted at number 1 on the Billboard 200. And this was Lupe's first number 1 album on the chart ever. In the way of singles, the album spawned 3, The Show Goes On, Words I Never Said, and Out of My Head with Trey Songz. Out of all these singles, The Show Goes On was the true star from the album, and due to his hard work, it became the crowning success of Lupe's career, going triple platinum. Now, when Lupe was not all about his music, he was also talking about politics. In that same year when his album dropped, he appeared on the CBS program What's Trending. In the interview, he declared himself to be anti-Obama and criticized Obama's stance on the Israeli-Palestinian conflict. He said something like, "My fight against terrorism, to me, the biggest terrorist is Obama and the United States of America. I'm trying to fight the terrorism that's actually causing other forms of terrorism. You know? The root cause of terrorism is the stuff the US government allows to happen. The foreign policies that we have in place in different countries that inspire people to become terrorists."
I don't vote.
Oh, you don't vote?
No, I don't vote.
Really?
No, I don't vote.
But
I don't get involved in the political
why?
process. Because it's meaningless, to be honest.
This was neither the first or the last time that Fiasco got vocal about his beliefs. In that same year, he involved himself in the Occupy Wall Street movement, donating tents and writing a poem in support of protesters. Now, in addition to being political, Lupe Fiasco also had a rumored beef with 50 Cent. It all began when 50 dropped a track called 50's My Favorite off his Street King Energy drink promotional series. The lines in question go as follows. "I could fit your house inside my house, then your neighbors and your yard. Oh my god, this shit ain't about shit. So I ain't gonna go hard. Now kick, push, get the f out of here. Kick, push." Now, when I heard this track for the first time, my thoughts were, this song has to be about Lupe. I've never heard any other rapper use the term kick push, or at least back then, so the entire thing had to be about Lupe. Soon after hearing about this, Lupe did a radio interview where he got to discuss the track. According to him, he had no issues with 50, and he didn't think that 50 was dissing him. That's fine, 50 Cent's a good guy. I got the chance to perform with him and tour with him a bit. I don't really look at it as a diss. I've got fans in high places, I guess. Now, just as people were talking about this alleged beef, 50 stepped up to clear up the rumors. He said, "Y'all don't even listen to the lyrics." And this implies that 50 was not talking about Lupe at all. Now, towards the end of 2011, Lupe dropped a mixtape Friend of the People, I Fight Evil. Oh, and I also forgot to mention that Lupe went on tour this year. So yeah, 2011 was quite busy for Lupe. As if he was about to be rewarded for his accolades. Around 2012, Lupe got nominated for 3 Grammys. This time it was for Best Rap Album, Best Rap Song, and Best Rap Performance for The Show Goes On.
What are you looking forward to tonight?
My next award, see if I win that one.
Right? Which category is that?
It's Best Rap Performance.
Okay.
So
For which song?
Show Goes On.
In the Best Rap Album category, Lupe Fiasco was a bit of an underdog. He was going against the Carter 4, Lil Wayne, Pink Friday by Nicki Minaj, Watch the Throne with Jay-Z and Kanye, and My Beautiful Dark Twisted Fantasy by Kanye. Yeah, so Lupe didn't win any Grammys. But this brought his total Grammy nominations up to 11. He also put the final touches on album number 4, which he had recorded before dropping Lasers. This one was going to be titled Food and Liquor 2, The Great American Rap Album Part 1.
I wish I never touched. I wish that I could stop loving you so much.
The album sold about 89,000 copies in its first week. And unlike the previous album which debuted at number 1, this one debuted at number 5 on the Billboard 200. Now, this album had a very weird presentation. More specifically, the album cover was completely black. In an interview with Feuds, Lupe explained why he chose the black album cover. And it turns out he was inspired by the legend Johnny Cash and his iconic song Man in Black. Lupe claimed that he was always influenced by Johnny Cash and his music, and also his style choices. The thing is, Johnny Cash wore black as a symbol of solidarity with people who did hard time in prison. Lupe recognized the deep meaning behind Cash rapping black and wanted to capture that vibe for his own album. So in essence, Lupe was trying to shed light on the silenced voice of people who have served time. So, Food and Liquor 2 spawned 4 singles, namely Around My Way, Bitch Bad, Lamborghini Angels, and Battle Scars. Of the four, I personally like Bitch Bad the most, but Battle Scars got the most radio play.
Bitch bad, woman good, lady better.
Though the album was supposed to have a part 2, Fiasco cancelled it around January of 2013, promising another studio album in its place. But let's backtrack a bit. 2012, and Lupe and Chief Keef get into a minor argument. When questioned about Chief Keef in an interview, Lupe went on to say the following: Chief Keef scares me, not him specifically, but just the culture that he represents. The murder rate in Chicago is skyrocketing, and you see who's doing it and perpetrating it. They all look like Chief Keef. When it comes to the point that, you know, the kids who are doing the killings and they're kids 13 to 19, and you can replicate that in New Orleans, you can replicate that in Auckland, all the kids look the same. The thing is, a few weeks earlier in an interview, Lupe broke down in tears after being shown footage of himself in his childhood neighborhood. And the thing is, so many people in the footage were either dead or incarcerated. The issue was clearly near and dear to his heart, and it's pretty obvious that Lupe was talking about violence in Chicago as a whole, not necessarily just Keef, but the rapper took offense. After the interview, Chief Keef tweeted the following: Lupe Fiasco a ass nigga, and when I see him, I'ma smack him like the little he is. Hashtag 300. In response, Lupe tried to make peace, tweeting the following: I can't go for that at Chief Keef, and I can't let the people I love, including you my go for that either. We kings, not savages and goons. I love you, little bruh. I really do from the bottom of my heart. I know that street shit like the back of my hand. The two went back and forth in a series of tweets that have since been deleted, with Lupe repeatedly offering peace and being met with aggression. Eventually, the blow-up ended after Lupe tweeted separately, but obviously in reference to Keef: This album will probably be my last. It's been a pleasure to have all my fans provide so much love and inspiration for me and my family. But my heart is broken and I see no comfort further along this path. Only more pain. I cannot participate any longer in this. My first true love was literature, so I will return to that. Lupe Fiasco ends here. So, in essence, Lupe was saying that this next album would be his last, and that he was heartbroken. The thing is, this announcement came right after his Twitter spat with Chief Keef, so maybe that was a catalyst for his retirement. Or, the safer answer here is, his issues with the label were getting the better of him. He was being a little bit dramatic, because the man did not retire, and in 2013 he received his final Grammy nomination for Best Rap Album for Food and Liquor 2. He also announced on the red carpet that his next album would be called Techo and Youth. 2013 was a very eventful year for Lupe Fiasco, as he also got into a beef with Childish Gambino. It all began when Lupe was talking to a fan, and the fan asked him to put out a comedy stand-up show like Childish Gambino. Lupe then responded with the following: I don't work with black people, I work with N-words, which Childish Gambino took as a sneak diss towards him. After this, Gambino appeared on Power 105's The Breakfast Club and threatened to smack Lupe like the he is.
But did you bully Lupe on Twitter?
You said you wanted to slap. You said you was gonna slap Lupe.
Man, he came at me for. He kind of sneak dissed me. He sneak dissed me. Like honestly, like. And here's the thing. Like I'm a Lupe fan. Like to an extent. Like to an extent. Like I like this. Like food and liquor. Like I like all that stuff. But like he kind of sneak dissed me. He's like, oh, I don't really mess with
You have to work with him.
Yeah.
And he said, I don't work with black people.
He's like, I don't work with black people. I work with N-words. Like you can. I have to say that, right?
I'm opposite. I don't work with.
We can say.
Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, sweet. So like, so he was like, I don't want. And like, I got what he was saying. I understood, but at the same time, it was a sneak diss. So I was like, okay, I'm gonna just come at you with what Chief Keef said to you like a month ago. And when he said that, you were like, oh, I ain't gotta be like that, brother.
You said to him, Lupe is a whole ass. And when I see him, I'm gonna smack him like the little bitch he is.
Now,
damn.
I would like to take like credit for that, but Chief Keef said that an hour. I guess 2 months before.
I would like to take credit for that.
It was a copy and paste.
I can't. It was a copy and paste.
Hey, I just want to give you a word of advice. Never quote Chief Keef. That can never end well.
It never ends. No. This is ending pretty great. I'm on the Breakfast Club, man.
I think it's because of your writing on 30 Rock.
And that kind of stuff. That's what I mean.
Now, if you see Lupe, will you smack the ish out of him?
No.
Nah, man. Come on, man. We the biggest.
Stop trying to start.
I'm just asking the question. He wrote it. I'm just asking.
Like, I don't think he's smart too, man. He doesn't want to fight. Like, he doesn't want to
No, he might try you just because you feel, that's Donald Glover. How dare he?
Man,
let me let him know I'm still from Chicago.
I mean, yeah, I guess, but that would just be such a waste. Like, that would be a waste of time and money for him. Like, he's like, okay, so maybe you get sued, maybe get some attention, but like, that's like, I don't think anybody thinks like that anymore. I think people still think like rappers are like, yo, and that's the thing. I've gone to events and it's still like that in some cases, but most of these people are like, I don't want to die. I'm trying to make this money.
Have you been on World Star lately?
Yeah, I have been, but a lot of those people don't have.
You got to give people the credit they deserve for being stupid.
I got a song on the album called World Star, man. Like, all about it. Yeah, World Star is one of my favorite sites, man.
Oh my god.
Now this aggressive reaction confused many fans, since Gambino tends to have a more laid-back public persona. For the usually mild-mannered Gambino to threaten violence against Lupe, it seemed out of character because if you think about it, Childish Gambino is the guy from Community. He's the guy from Atlanta. He's the guy making Disney movies. He's not the type of guy that'll run up on you and smack you for saying something negative. Now, in response to Childish Gambino's claims, Lupe said the following on Twitter: "I don't sneak diss." Lupe also went on to clarify that Gambino's sneak dissing allegation was a sneak diss itself. In a weird turn of events, Lupe ended things by saying he watches more anime than Gambino. As the days went on, the fans couldn't wait to see where this beef would go. Some people thought Gambino was overreacting, while others claimed that Lupe's comments were meant to provoke. Now there's more to the Lupe versus Childish Gambino beef than meets the eye. Now Lupe has always seen himself as a black nerd. He sees himself as a pioneer of that persona before it became mainstream, a persona that Childish Gambino has as well. Over the years, Lupe has been critical of Gambino's success and willingness to embrace commercial opportunities. Lupe feels like he didn't sell out, and that's why his career has been stagnated. Childish Gambino, on the other hand, has achieved a lot of success because, according to Lupe, he sold out. Now the Lupe Childish Gambino beef was handled behind the scenes. Allegedly, Atlantic made a phone call that stopped the entire thing from progressing. Nevertheless, Lupe and Childish Gambino did not ever trade blows, and their beef eventually fizzled out. It seems like 2013 was the year for beefs, because during this year, Lupe also had another beef, this time with battle rapper Disaster. Around this time period, Lupe weighed in on a battle between Disaster and A-Verb, favoring A-Verb and calling both rappers subpar. He even called Disaster an angry Drake, a diss that clearly did not sit well. The pair then had a very heated exchange on Twitter, with Lupe saying things like, "You letting that battle rap fantasy world cloud your judgment, you bitch," metaphorical slaps and what have you, ha ha ha, you a pussy. Lupe then went on to claim that Disaster was a big talker, and that Disaster was not capable of doing anything to him. The feud escalated into 2014 when Disaster took issue with Lupe's opinions on Kendrick Lamar. Lupe had said that Kendrick was talented but placed other rappers above him. Disaster then fired back, questioning Lupe's credibility and using derogatory language. Additionally, in an interview, a frustrated Disaster challenged Lupe to step into the lyrical ring since he was always critiquing battles. Disaster felt like Lupe talked a big game, but never had proven himself as a battler, saying either jump in the ring or shut the up.
I'd like to see Lupe Fiasco jump in the shark tank and get a fucking limb ripped off of him, maybe. Another arrogant ass dude, always talking shit, talking how, like, you know, the whole thing started between me and Lupe because he felt like he had to say me and Averb were whack. Like what kind of, like, he's supposed to be this, like, positive figure for, like, you know, hip hop and all this shit, and, you know, he has millions of followers and he's just gonna tweet to people, you guys are whack type of shit, and it's like, cool. So, like, I just started talking shit back to him, and ever since it's just always been some crazy shit with him. And he's just one of those dudes that starts like tweeting whack-ass punchlines and thinking that he's a rapper because he could tweet bars or some typing 140 character lines and shit, corny ass shit. I'm a battler, bro. I'm a barbarian, bro. This is what I fucking do. Don't come at me with no fucking Twitter typing shit. You know what I'm saying? Like, go play in the corner with that shit. You know what I'm saying? Either jump in the fucking ring or just don't talk about battling. Don't even have an opinion about it. Shut the fuck up. We don't give a fuck what you think. Every other fucking week he has a new fucking trend that he's trying to... First he was a skater and, you know, now he's like Muslim and, you know, all this shit and trying to debate me and fucking... I just can't stand the dude, you know what I'm saying? Like, he's just an idiot.
Now, despite the heated words exchanged, an actual live battle never happened. It seems like Lupe was not very interested in pursuing anything and felt like he had nothing to prove in terms of battling disaster. Now, when Lupe wasn't beefing with anybody, he was focused on his career. But around this time, he began to talk about being blackballed. But we'll get into that in a minute. Now, Lupe was still focused on dropping his album Techo and Youth, but the label delayed it multiple times. However, something very strange happened. An anonymous hacker group threatened to hack Atlantic as a whole unless they dropped a release date for Lupe's album. The hacker group went on Twitter and said the following: "You have 24 hours to present a statement announcing the immediate release of Techo and Youth. If you do not comply, we will launch a direct attack against your website, your associates, and your executives." Blatantly censoring Lupe Fiasco is inexcusable. Now, this news seemed to have put Atlantic in a panic because only 19 hours later, a release date for Lupe's album was finally announced, 20th of January 2015. And so Lupe's album finally had a release date. But before the album came out, Lupe got involved in another beef. Around January of 2015, the rapper got into a feud with another set of rappers, and this time he wasn't so passive. It all began over comments that Kendrick Lamar made in an interview with Billboard, in which he acknowledged that what happened to Michael Brown should have never occurred, but also, specifically, African Americans need to have more respect for themselves in order to earn respect from others. In response, Azalea Banks went on a tirade attacking Lamar. Lupe, on the other hand, actually agreed with Kendrick and posted his own tweet in support of the rapper using the hashtag #BeMoreLikeKendrickLamar. In addition, he posted a subliminal tweet saying, "2015 will not and cannot be the year of feelings. You young, crazy, emotional bitches and jaded old bigots gotta chill the f*** out." And just like that, Azalea Banks set her sights on Lupe Fiasco. Azalea called Lupe a has-been and told Lupe that interacting with her would eventually give him more publicity. In response, Lupe retweeted old tweets of Banks gushing over his beat and flow. Azalea Banks then told him that he was not a rapper anymore and dubbed him the black guy who used to hang out with Kanye. Banks and Fiasco went back and forth for a while, and then out of nowhere, Kid Cudi entered the fray with a tweet aimed at black artists, cautioning them against talking down to the black community. Lupe then took this as a direct attack and responded back by calling out Cudi for his disloyalty, referencing a time when he checked on Cudi during his struggles with drug addiction. Cudi then tweeted, "Uh-oh, we got him mad. My comments come from a place of love. Sorry if I offended anyone, except Lupe Fiasco. That nigga feelings. Ha ha dweeb." Fiasco then responded by saying, "Niggas be invalid because they don't really mean what they say. I hate that are disloyal at their core, then flex like they Gandhi. F*** outta here." After the surprising hostile Twitter exchange, Cudi and Fiasco never managed to make up. They continually call each other out or even throw shade at each other to this day. The thing is, they never engaged in an aggressive attack in person. So far it seems like Lupe is the type of guy that keeps his beefs online. Now, how did the tension between Lupe and Kid Cudi begin? It all began around 2014 when Lupe decided to sell personalized verses for $500. Lupe went on Twitter and let his fans know they could get a custom verse, including their choice of beats, vibes, and topics, all for the price of $500. Now when Kid Cudi heard about this, he was not feeling it at all. He called out Lupe on Twitter, saying that this move felt like a scam to him. Lupe then clapped back, saying he was not scamming anyone and just wanted to give fans what they wanted. And just like that, the Kid Cudi and Lupe Fiasco beef had begun. Now as the drama was coming to an end, Lupe's album finally came out on January 20th, 2015. The fans had been waiting a long time for this album to come out, so when it did, it got a lot of positive reviews. Sales-wise, however, it didn't really do that well. It sold about 42,000 copies in the first week and debuted at number 14 on the Billboard 200. After this, sales declined, and in the second week, the album only sold about 12,000 copies. Now, to be fair, this is album number 5, and the fact that Lupe was still putting out albums in 2015 was impressive. The single from the album was called Deliver, and it features background vocals by Ty Dolla $ign. Overall, the album was pretty good. It kicks off with tracks like Mural, and for 8 minutes Lupe shows us why he's known for lyrics and storytelling. Then you have songs like Prisoner 1 and 2 that delve into the complexities of the prison system.
I just wanna be collected. When I call, goddamn, I don't wanna be accepted, not at all as I am.
And Little Death, which tackles social issues with a poetic flair.
The hell that we raise to the heavens, do anything for.
These tracks don't just skim the surface, they dive deep, forcing you to think critically about the world around you. Now, while some people loved the album, other people felt like it was too long, and the heavy themes might not be for everyone. Nevertheless, Lupe delivered an album, finally. But this is where Lupe began to fall off. The biggest obstacles in his career were his lack of desire to be in the industry and his conflict with his label. This, coupled with the rise of mumble rap, meant that Fiasco's decline was almost guaranteed. In addition, Lupe as a whole is very controversial, and he's the type of person that says something that may alienate a wider audience. In other words, he has no filter. Now, towards the end of 2015, he dropped one of his final mixtapes to date, titled Fahrenheit 2/30. Then around April of 2016, Lupe announced that he would only release 3 more albums to be titled Drogas, Skulls, and Roy. Now, as was his habit, he changed his mind again, retitling the albums as Drogas, Drogas Light, and Skulls. Now, towards the end of 2016, Lupe's career suffered another blow. This time, it was by his own hands. Lupe dropped a track called Nerd, one that samples J. Cole's Everybody Dies.
Line us up, paddle us on the back like we steamboat you, president of the frat, you gon' sling toes.
In the song, Lupe talks about how he's tired with the industry, and then there were 2 bars that got people riled up. They go as follows.
Artists getting robbed for they publishing by dirty Jewish execs who think that it's arms from the covenant.
Now, after dropping this song, Lupe went back and forth with fans on social media, as many fans began to call him out for being an anti-Semite. Naturally, Lupe denied these allegations, but in a twist of events, Lupe got in his emotions, then announced that he would no longer be dropping those 3 albums. We're talking about Drogas, Skulls, and Roy. He wrote, "Yo Lupe fans, it's been fun. I hope you've had fun. I'm officially not releasing any more music. Albums cancelled." Now, this isn't the first time that Lupe has retired and said he was done with music. The man is also no stranger to controversy. In fact, around 2015, Lupe got into a beef with his fans after tweeting Martin Luther King and using profanity. And let's not forget about the time Lupe took a photo in full KKK attire. Lupe. Now, the Nerd song was removed from SoundCloud and effectively dried up the last of his fans. So, SoundCloud took the Nerd freestyle down because of hate speech. I'm done. Lupe also began to speak out against his label once more, and blamed them for trying to give him another sketchy contract. Now, even though Lupe said he would not drop another album, especially Drogas, Skull or Roy, Drogas Light came out around 2017, spawning the singles Pick Up the Phone, Made in the USA, and Jump.
Power, power, till ain't no devils anymore. Flowers, they be dropping at the feet of my son.
The album sold about 20,000 copies in its first week and debuted at number 28 on the Billboard 200. As you can tell, Lupe's numbers were starting to dwindle. That's if we're talking about physical sales. However, his streaming numbers seem to be doing just fine. Once again, Lupe went with a very simplistic album cover, and this time Lupe tapped in big name artists like Rick Ross, Big Crit, and Ty Dolla $ign to help him out. Now, the very same year he made a very startling revelation, and that's the fact that his album Drogas Light was actually a project that he paid no mind to. He gave it very little effort in order to appease the label. So, in essence, the fans got a crappy version of Drogas Light. However, according to Lupe, his next project would be his best work. 2018 was when that project finally came out, and it was titled Drogas Wave.
At 6 you start reading whole books. At 7 you knew how a brain looked.
The album debuted at number 60 on the Billboard 200 and sold about 11,000 copies in the first week. Now, Lupe did say that this album was going to be one of his best, especially since he gave fans a throwaway album the last time. So, did he deliver? I'd say yes. The album really knocked it out the park, and it was easily one of my top albums of 2018. The album is about 24 tracks long, and its standout tracks to me were King Nas and Manila. Now, the album is a bit long. It's about an hour and 40 minutes to be exact. However, almost every track works perfectly both as a standalone piece and as part of the album's overall narrative. It's a long listen, but it's worth every minute. Now, if we're talking about themes, Drogas actually stands for Don't Ruin Us, God Said. And the album dives into deep issues like the black struggle, slavery, and empowerment. It's not just music, it's a message. So yes, Lupe delivered. Did the album have any big singles? No. But true hardcore Lupe fans loved it, and that's what matters. When Lupe wasn't pursuing music in 2018, he premiered a 3-part television documentary in which he traveled to China to pursue his passion for martial arts. It was called Beaten Path, and it was a tribute to his late father, who was a grandmaster and ran a dojo in Chicago. So, 2018 was a very straightforward year for Lupe, but in 2019 things got spicier. In this year, he began to shed more light on his theory that he was blackballed. In fact, Lupe even called himself the most blackballed artist in the history of rap. In a bunch of tweets, he opened up about his struggles in the music business and how he has never gotten the recognition or support that he deserved. Let's talk about what went down. The whole situation came to light when Drogas Wave didn't get nominated for a Grammy. His die-hard fans were pretty upset, but Lupe calmed his fans and told them not to panic. Then, as usual, Lupe went nuclear and decided to target the people at his label, like Lyor Cohen. Lupe asked for ownership of his master recordings, but instead Lyor and the label wanted him to sign a 360 deal instead. And according to Lupe, if he did not sign, they were not going to promote his album. So that's the type of pressure and shady deals Lupe was calling out. He felt blackballed by not playing by the industry's rules. Even with all his success, he believes that people at the top were trying to limit his growth. Now, according to Lupe, he did not sign the deal with Lyor, and that's probably why Lupe isn't getting pushed as much. He said the following: "I didn't sign it. I'm not ignorant at all. I started my first business at 19. Plus the music business, at least what I went through at Atlantic, wasn't a business. It was damn near a mob cartel. Real grimy gangster shit. I had dollars, so I didn't care. I was speaking on other artists." Lupe even said that he was about to retire after making The Cool, but a friend of him called Big U called him and told him to honor his word as a Muslim. So, Lupe kept making music. So from the sound of things, even though Lupe has dropped albums since 2007, his heart wasn't really in a lot of the projects that he put out. In the past, he even admitted to giving his fans a crappy copy of his album. And even though Lupe won as far as his label situation goes, he was trying to give them the middle finger. When an artist doesn't drop a good project on purpose, the fans lose in the long run. So when Lupe wasn't airing out his label, he was touring in 2019 and also made a solemn vow to stay away from violent TV, music, and content overall. It's clear that Lupe was trying to evolve. Now in 2020, Lupe came back with an EP, and then around 2021, Lupe made headlines again, this time because of a beef with Royce the 5'9". It all began when Royce the 5'9" was on IG Live with Young Guru, Loaded Lux, and Murder Mook. You know how it is when battle rappers come together. They usually talk about hip-hop, and this time was no different. This time the topic of conversation was a hypothetical beef between Lupe Fiasco and Royce the 5'9". Then out of nowhere, Lupe enters the chat and starts saying things like, "Why do people want to see me and Royce battle? Why?" Then out of nowhere, Guru starts putting pressure on Lupe to take this seriously, suggesting Royce and Lupe battle in real life. Lupe then denied this, then proceeded to get braggadocious by saying he can challenge and defeat anybody that steps to him. Lupe said the following: "I'm not really interested in battling Royce, but don't get it f***ed up. That don't mean I won't cook niggas if niggas keep pushing buttons. I don't wanna do shit personally, but if you wanna make a professional fool of your f***ing self, running up against a demon, go ahead." Damn. So how do you think Royce reacted to this? Royce actually let the entire thing go and invited Lupe to jump on a track with him. Nah, who am I kidding? Royce got pissed. Who you talking to? Get in the motherfucking ring if you got a motherfucking problem. Who you think you talking to, nigga? You playing too much. Take some of that bass out your voice. Now, who would actually win in a hypothetical beef or rap battle between Royce the 5'9" and Lupe Fiasco? I've got my money on Royce. Who are you placing your money on? Wait, before you finish that thought, listen to these two diss tracks by Royce the 5'9" and Lupe. The track that came out first was the Royce the 5'9" song called Silence of the Lambda.
We them cool niggas bringing food, liquor, and fullies in. They do all the yelling, then accuse nickel of bullying.
After this, Lupe fired back with a track called Steve Jobs.
Lambda, lambda, lambda. I think that shit was sweet. I wish I could just kiss you on the cheek.
Now after hearing both tracks, I have to say that Lupe actually did his thing. Lupe's bars seemed more direct, like the time he made a reference to D12 and Royce the 5'9".
Look at all the assists. Nigga, if it wasn't for Premiere, you wouldn't be. If it wasn't for, nigga, I got a dozen more.
The setup was extremely smart. The entire song was very lethal, especially considering the fact that it came out just hours after Royce dropped his track. So in my opinion, Lupe won this little skirmish, but Royce fans might say otherwise. Now Lupe came back harder and then dropped album number 8 in 2022 called Drill Music in Zion.
I defend myself in court, this is sport, I get signals from the source.
Now to prove how easy it is to make an album, Lupe recorded the entire project on GarageBand and used a $100 USB mic. Here's what Lupe had to say. I actually didn't write it, more like spoke it and self-recorded Drill Music in Zion from scratch over the course of 72 hours, give or take some hours, only stopping to eat and sleep entirely on GarageBand with a $100 USB microphone in my living room. Now once again, the album didn't make any big waves. It had no charting singles. However, I'm sure Lupe fans were just glad that Lupe was back and releasing music. Now this album was very personal for Lupe. His sister Aisha actually came up with the title for the project, and she even sang on the opening track, adding this personal, intimate vibe. So, what was this project inspired by? Remember that scene in The Matrix 2 where all the robots are drilling down into the city of Zion? Well, Lupe saw that as symbolic of the struggle against oppression and the fight for freedom. Now one thing you can say about Lupe is that almost every project he puts out actually means something. the guy meticulously plans out a cinematic experience for the listeners. And that's something that can't be said about a lot of rappers of nowadays. So yeah, sometimes the sales don't always match the talent. Or should I say most times. 2022 seemed to be a very progressive year for Lupe Fiasco, because in that year he also got praise from Kanye West on Drink Champs. Kanye went on to praise Lupe's mind and called him smart. He also said that he loved Lupe's sense of style in terms of fashion, and he would never clash with Lupe under any circumstances. The funny part came in when Kanye began to talk about Lupe and his two personalities. On one side, Kanye says Lupe is very gangster, and I suppose that makes sense considering Lupe grew up around that environment. But according to Kanye, Lupe is also super nerdy and into skateboards. So yeah, there are two sides to Lupe Fiasco, and I suppose that's why one day Lupe will act super gangster, challenging rappers online, and then the next day he'll talk about his love for skateboarding. Now on the music front, Lupe came back swinging hard in 2023. In fact, around January of 2023, Lupe announced to the world that he's been sitting on a vault of unreleased songs by Child Rebel Soldier. Remember them? The supergroup composed of Lupe, Kanye and Pharrell? Well, according to Lupe, he was just itching to release these new songs, or should I say old songs that the group worked on. After hearing this news, the fans were very eager to hear more, and Lupe finally answered their prayers. He shared a screenshot of a text conversation that he had with Tyler, the Creator. In the texts, it shows Lupe letting Tyler listen to two unreleased Child Rebel Soldier songs, and they're called Engine Light and Shrink. Tyler's reaction said it all. The man was impressed. This was the first taste of Child Rebel Soldier in ages. So now, with Lupe unveiling the vault, the hype is through the roof. Is Lupe about to drop more songs from Child Rebel Soldier? Well, we can only wait and see. So in short, it's pretty safe to say that Lupe is very active in the music industry. And that's even if the music industry isn't very active in him. Lupe cut his fan base in half by beefing online and saying some negative things about Obama. But today he still tours regularly, and he's a professor of rap theory at MIT. So yeah, Lupe is still doing good. On Spotify, he gets about 4.5 million monthly listeners, and his most listened to songs are The Show Goes On, Battle Scars, Superstar, Kick Push, and Daydreaming. That's it for me, it's your boy Ali. Let me know if you liked this video, cause if you do like it, I'll drop more videos like this in the future. Also catch me on Instagram at Ali Talks Music. Till next time, peace.